I've been playing around with Fluid Ninja for quite a while now, and always found it fun to just play around with the physics in the demos and tutorials. I've always found physics games or tech demos fun to play around with, and have good memories of playing stair dismount and truck dismount for a huge amount of time around 20 years ago. I also really love cool physics mechanics in games like Half-Life and Self-Factor, which utilise physics a lot, and I think they still look impressive even today.
Oh my god!
I saw that while there was a small demo of Fluid Ninja, it didn't have all the examples from the plugin, and the UI wasn't great, and from what I saw it wasn't easy to change the graphics settings without editing the INI files. I thought it'd be cool to create a small free game, which included all the cool demo levels in Fluid Ninja, and had a decent UI. Also, I thought I could add some extra elements to the levels to make the environments look a bit better and be a bit more interesting, and had some ideas to make some cool little time trial games using Fluid Ninja, and this could be improved and added to as time goes on, although I haven't got around to this yet. I initially was trying to think of a name so I could create a logo and start the process of creating a Steam app and Epic Store app. I ended up deciding on Unreal Physics as it uses Unreal Engine, and the main point is to show off physics. And went about creating the logo. I found a futuristic font I liked and thought a fractured look was pretty cool, so I sliced apart the text and then thought a neon look would complement the futuristic style. I then bought the Steam and Epic Store credits for 100 USD each to create the apps with the name of Unreal Physics. I started by setting up the menu system. I decided I'd use the base menu system I built in another project, as it would save me a lot of time. So I just migrated the files to the new project and then modified it quite extensively to get to work and fit in the new game. I decided to also use an idea that I'd done in another project, whereby the main menu is actually the first level. As this level has some cool physics, I thought it'd be a cool backdrop. So the main menu starts with the camera panned out, looking out over the level, and then if the player chooses the first level, the camera pans in, and the visible player becomes controllable.
Perfect!
The default camera system, when in third person, shows the mouse cursor and allows the player to move the mouse around the screen and interact with the environment. And then if the player right-clicks the mouse and holds it, they then have the ability to move around the camera. A widget is also shown in the bottom right-hand corner to control the zoom and sun direction and intensity. This mode allows you to interact with the demos via the mouse easily, however it makes moving the camera around more difficult. I personally prefer having control of the camera most of the time, so I went about allowing the user to be able to pick which mode they want at the start and also toggle this in the game.
Oh,
I decided I'd add the widget to the pause menu so the player still has access to those controls. I figured this was just as good, as most of the time you don't really need to play with the light during the gameplay anyway. I also wanted to add the option to change the level while in the pause menu, as I wanted it to be very quick to change between the levels, as I didn't want the user to have to go back to the main menu every time they change the level, as the levels are quite small, so levels may be changed quite frequently, especially as there are so many levels. There's 72 currently. I then went through the process of going through all the levels and seeing what was worth adding to the project, and then modifying the levels so they would work with my system. I figured it would also be cool if I could add in a basic fighting system and Ragdoll system for the playable character. So I used my character setup I'd built for Slaughter Cats, but I limited some of the functionality to fit the game, such as removing weapons. After some time, getting this migrated character system working in some of the levels, I realised that some of the levels had multiple characters with different elements attached to them. Due to the way Fluid Ninja works, I couldn't assign all these elements to one character, as this would cause issues with conflicting actors, so I built a system whereby you could switch between the characters. This also had additional complexity, as although I replaced the default character with my own, there was also some characters with specific components within the pawn class which I couldn't easily replace. So I had to manage switching between these different character classes.
A few moments later.
Once I went through the long process of sorting out which levels I wanted to keep, and then setting them to work with the new system I built, I wanted to try and improve the areas by adding more interesting environments and interactable items where possible. I also added lots of pawns throughout the level, which would ragdoll when hit, to again make the environment a bit more interactable. I also added in the ability for the player to switch between character meshes, as I thought this would be a cool feature to have a few different characters that players could choose from. I decided to add in some small levels with many chaos physics elements in them, as I thought this would be a good addition to the game, and always really loved playing around with destructible environments. I built 4 basic levels with varying degrees of destructibility. I added in the ability to make the debris disappear or stay permanently. Obviously, having the debris disappear is much better for performance, but having the debris stay looks much cooler, but quickly degrades performance after you destroy many things.
Oh my god!
I also added in the ability to fight some basic enemies, as I thought this would make the environments a bit more interesting and was another option for the users. Over the last few days, I've added in a couple of Niagara fluid levels as well, as I thought the fluid simulations were really cool. At the moment, it's only 2 levels, but I'll continue to work on it, and hopefully as I continue to learn more about using Niagara fluids, I'll be able to add some even cooler demos.
Very nice.
I'm also a big fan of electronic music, particularly drum and bass and dubstep, and wanted to feature some of this music in my game, as I thought it fit quite well with the tech physics demos. I wanted to, however, give the players a choice of different genres, as I'm aware that most people do not share the same taste as me. The default music style is chill, which is mostly ambient background music, and then the player can select from either drum and bass, dubstep, techno or house, as well as a mixture of all of them. I want to add in localization in this game, and I've been testing using it in my other games. Built a couple of scripts which helped me streamline the process, so I could fairly quickly add new languages, and there's a link to them in the description. I had all my text in string tables, and using the localization dashboard, I extracted my text to a PO file, and then used my script to convert the file to an XLSX file, which I could then translate. I then used Google to translate the file to 14 other languages. I then ran my script against these 14 files, and the PO files were then generated for each of the languages. I then loaded these back into Unreal Engine. One problem I had though was after completing this process, Unreal Engine wants you to manually mark each translation as reviewed. I couldn't find a way to automatically mark them all as reviewed. Let me know in the comments if you know a way. And while this is okay, if you have to click a few hundred boxes, as I had 14 languages and almost 400 translations per language, it was around 6,000 boxes I had to tick. As this is going to take a really long time to do manually, I built a script to automatically tick all the boxes one by one. It still took a little time to build, configure and run, but was much less frustrating and much quicker in the end. As with most games, the UI takes a while to set up and configure, and this was the same with this game. Especially as in this game there is an extensive list of available input, as the game uses a few different pawns with different controls. For example, a few different types of pawns including the first and third person, a car, a helicopter and a spacecraft. I've added a quick list of controls available to the players, so you can press tab with any pawn and you'll be shown the controls available to the current pawn. This, as well as the existing UI, caused me problems when switching languages, as some languages had different character sets like Japanese or Korean, so the UI had to be modified to correctly fit or scale the characters. Also, there's no default way to reload the font if you want to change the font for all your UI, so I had to leap through all the widgets and manually set all the text widgets to use a new font. I was initially thinking of charging $1 or $2 for the game, but I figured most of the physics demos were already done by Andreas, who created Fluid Ninja, so I thought in the end making it free was a better idea. My plan is to also build on this in the future and add more features and hopefully add even more physics demos and some small mini games. As it's free, I figured I could make this into a collaborative project, so if any other people have any other cool things they made, I could add them into the game. So if you've made any good music and want me to add it, or any cool physics demos with Fluid Ninja or an Unreal Engine and want me to add them, please feel free to reach out to me on Discord, or even if you have some suggestions or bugs to report, you can reach out to me on Discord. The link to my Discord channel is in the description. The game is out now and free to play on Steam and Epic Store. And the Steam and Epic Store link to the game are in the description. If you like the video or you like the game, please like and subscribe.